The following is a conversation. It has the features of any conversation, such as imperfectly expressed thoughts, ill-considered opinions, and the notions of several sleep-deprived brains. Try not to get your stethoscope in a twist about it.
Meandering in the margins of medicine, it's the Shortcoat Podcast.
Weird news,
fresh views,
helpful clues, and interviews.
By students, for students.
Subscribe to our weekly show at theshortcoat.com.
Welcome back to the Shortcoat Podcast, the show that gives you an inside look at medical school from the students drinking from that fire hose. It's a production of the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine, and I'm Dave Etler. With me today in the SCP studio, a pack of med school puppies, a kindle of med school kittens. Say meow to MD PhD student Maddie Walline.
Hello.
PhD student Riley B. Bush says woof. M2 Mao Ye says cheep cheep. Cheep cheep. And M2 Matt Engelken says as he licks his own eyeball to keep it warm. Our show today is about being a pet owner in medical school. Did you guys have pets growing up?
I did. I grew up with 2 labs. They were both huge, and that made me a forever dog person. Mm-hmm. And I decided to get a dog the summer before I started medical school, which remains to be seen whether that was a good or a bad idea.
Well, just like you're kind of a long way in at this point to be uncertain.
I guess so. Ultimately, I think it was a great idea, but we're going to get into that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not in medical school, obviously, but I never owned a pet until I was 50.
You're not?
I know.
That's crazy. I thought this whole time you've been in medical school. It's crazy.
Yeah, I only became a pet owner in the last couple of years, and I love it.
How is it going from no pet ownership your whole life to a pet ownership in your 20s? Because you're 20.
There's a lot to, I mean, I don't know. It's just cats. So I feel like there's a level of difficulty with cats that's not the same as certain other kinds of pets who I won't name, but who are called dogs.
I feel like this is, okay, the dog person versus cat person debate has a place. And I feel like I've always been firmly on the side of the dog person because I grew up with dogs. And so I was never somebody who was like, I hate cats, but I'm not a big cat person. Having my own dog, not as a family pet, but having a dog that I am solely responsible has made me really understand the appeal of cats.
You guys are the cat people, right?
Yeah, I have 2 cats, and kind of to go back a little bit, our family has always had cats. We have one dog who turned 14 last week, so
Ooh,
happy birthday, Jade.
Happy birthday, Jade.
Yeah, we've just had the one dog, but she's amazing. She's awesome. We've had cats basically my entire life, and in addition to that, since 9th grade, my family at home has fostered kittens for the Humane Society.
Okay, that I'm just dying to. That's awesome. I want to be around all them.
Yeah, they're awesome. The ones that are too small or not friendly enough for those kind of things, we bulk them up, and sometimes we'll even get pregnant mothers, and they'll give birth at our house, and so we get them from the time that they're newborns to when they're 2 pounds and ready to be adopted.
That's the situation.
When you said bulking up, I'm picturing you guys feeding them creatine, being bulk cats.
Yeah, we just put we put protein in
protein and creatine, and we got to get them going.
Cat bros.
But I moved into a new place between my sophomore and junior year of college, and I knew that place had pets, so the entire summer was an audition, I guess, for cats that I'd bring with me. As you said, dogs are awesome, but I knew that, being a pre-med at the time and now as a med student, I don't necessarily have time to walk a dog and take him out all the time. So I was like, if I leave for, an entire day, the cats are going to be fine. But one thing I was pretty passionate about is that I'd get 2. So that way when I was gone, they'd have a buddy. Yeah. So I ended up getting 2 from the same litter. I've had them since they were, too small to be adopted, and now they're 3.5, and they're awesome. They like humans, which is unique for cats. They both cuddle with me, so I'd say it's a pretty solid gig.
We love a snuggly
My
cat.
babies don't really cuddle with us.
Kind of rude of them.
I know. So rude.
Yeah, I have a dog and a cat, but I want to state my position clear. I'm a dog person.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Poor derecho.
Derecho, exactly.
She's
So
gonna be listening. He or she.
he's
gonna be listening to this later and be like,
he's used to it. I don't tell him I hate him, but like I love my dog more for sure. I grew up when my grandparents had dogs, so I would visit them over there, but I never had a cat. The only reason we have a cat now is because he was left outside our house during derecho, so we brought him in. So we're a good person. And it's funny because so first we brought him in, he was like hissing at us. He was like probably 2 weeks old or something like that, and so his mom left him out there, and he was hissing at us. And then we gave him some tuna, and he sold his soul. He loved us forever to death.
that's funny.
Oh my gosh, you found him during the derecho or after the derecho?
Probably like the day after derecho. Yeah.
That's so scary. For anyone that doesn't know who's listening, a derecho was a basically hurricane that we had here in Iowa, and it was crazy. It was really
That was among the weirdest experiences of my time in Iowa, was that derecho.
yeah.
The other one was the flood of 2008, but we won't talk about that.
I wasn't there. I wasn't here.
It was a disaster. It was a huge disaster. You know, Stanley Art Museum is opening this month, and the reason it's opening this month is because the original art museum was blown away by the 2008 floods.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
14 years ago.
Yeah, that's why we got the new Hancher Auditorium and the new music building, Voxman.
All that stuff got like wiped out.
Yeah, well, I guess not former, but I was in choir throughout the entire thing, so we heard all about the flood. But you know, we got good new venues out of it, so
Yeah,
I guess
okay.
we can complain about it, but we got something, I guess.
This is why I don't mess with weather. Like this morning when it was raining, I got right back in bed and I said, nope, not today. And then I laid there and watched TikToks.
Is that the reason, Maddie?
That was Riley.
Riley.
My gosh. Yeah, it was.
Okay. Getting back to cats.
So
And
you're
dogs.
you are firmly a dog person. You have both a dog and a cat.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive. I mean, I agree. Like I'm a dog person too, but
You're right.
like you are right, but
Yeah.
do your dog and cat get along?
My dog's like 60 pounds. My cat is like 10 pounds maybe. So they don't really hang out together. My cat likes my dog. My dog's like, you're too little. I don't know what to do with you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
And yeah, but they love each other. I can tell. Like,
That's good.
like my dog is so scared of thunderstorms. He will literally wake you up like in the middle of the night whenever. And it's so weird. It's kind of a long story, but it's like, if you look at the weather, the radar, it's like 8 hours away from where we live, this thunderstorm. And the dog just like started freaking out like 8 hours before the thunderstorm. And the cat tried to like calm him down.
The cat's like, I was
so
born in a derecho. This is old news for me. Like, calm
Yeah.
down,
Chill
dog.
out, dog.
Yeah, I would never introduce my dog Mac to a cat. I fear for what he might do to the cat.
Oh, Phoebe hates cats. Phoebe like is genuinely afraid of them. She like goes up to them and then she barks and backs away. Like she talks a big game, but like a cat comes near her, she is out of there. She's gone. So yeah, she's not gonna do well with a cat if we ever got one.
So I have two cats. One is Pandora and one is Fishwick. And Fishwick is either as dumb as a bag of hammers or just kind of passive. Like, you know, my theory is that she grew up on the mean streets of Iowa City or Washington or wherever the shelter got her. And she just never learned that she could have things or anything like that. She was just reacting to her environment. Never, you know. Pandora, we got as a kitten from a rescue mom. And she believes that she's entitled to everything. This morning, I got dressed and put on my pants, which I had left on the floor of my room because I'm an animal. Yes, okay, fine. And as I put my foot in the pant leg, out popped a disposable razor. And, you know, like a sock, okay, I get it. Pair of underwear even, okay, I can see that. But I had worn the pants yesterday, and I'm pretty sure there was nothing in there. But yeah, this morning. And so I'm pretty sure that Pandora gave me a little present in the middle of the night.
It's like the odds of your cat slicing your femoral artery with a disposable razor are low, but never zero.
But not zero.
Never zero.
Yeah.
They're actually probably about 60% now. Now that we have this information, you're probably
You're
I'll
in
be getting
danger.
sliced.
I do have a video on my Instagram of Pandora opening a drawer, laboriously selecting different toys, and then deciding, this is the one I want, putting some of the other toys back in the drawer, and then going on with her day, which, I don't know, that's kind of cool.
That's very
pretty
polite
neat.
of
That's
her
a smart,
to like put away
she's
her
not
toys.
always that polite. I don't know what got into her today. But.
Yeah, I should introduce my dog. I mentioned her before. Her name is Phoebe. I got her at the beginning of this year, and I almost gave her back. Like,
Yeah, you had a
immediately.
rough time.
Yeah, I had a rough time, and Maddie and Dave actually both heard all about it. In like Maddie more so in tearful cries. Dave and like I sat in this office and talked about how I almost gave my dog back. But yeah, so I got a dog from a shelter. I had been begging for weeks to my husband, like, let us get a dog. He finally came around. And then we got this dog, and I love her dearly, but it was so hard. When you get it, no one talks about how hard it is. Everyone's like, the dogs are the best thing that have ever happened to my life.
Riley, I think people talk about how hard dogs are.
But I think they talk about how wonderful it is.
It's
Maddie
kinda
was
like-
the first one that was like, I actually also almost did not go through with this dog thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I spent like the first 3 weeks having like full blown anxiety. If you've never heard about the puppy blues and you're thinking about getting a dog, I would recommend looking it up. And I ultimately like got through the 3 weeks, and now I love her so much, and she's the joy of my life. But yeah, I got this dog, and then I almost gave her back. I went so far as to email the shelter. I am no monster. I just didn't know if I could handle it due to my own mental health. Now she's the joy of my life, and I will tell everyone the story now because I fear for everyone else.
Well, what changed? What made?
That's a good question.
What
I think I changed.
You did. Okay.
I think I changed, and I think
She didn't grow out of it.
Well, and I think I'll never like forget talking to Maddie too. And it was like, she's like, I think what you do is perfectly fine. You can either give her back and know that she'll be with a lovely family and she will be wonderful and you will probably be happier and at least your anxiety will go down, or you can stick it through and I promise you it will get better. And I just remember like being in the point in which I could make the decision, and I was like, do I not? And I called my bluff and I was like, I can't give this dog back. I love her so much already, despite the anxiety. Therefore, I shall keep her.
I also just want to clarify that Riley was in distress. She was having a bad time. The problem wasn't Phoebe. The problem was that you were so anxious that you were doing wrong,
Yes.
quote unquote, by Phoebe
Yeah.
because she had to be gone during the day. And I was like, Riley, Phoebe is a dog and she is going to be okay. And there are, thousands of people who have pets and who work and go to work and their dog is alone, and she's going to be okay. So I'm not worried about Phoebe. I am worried about you because you are not handling this
I
well.
should very much clarify. Phoebe is one of the, from a lot of people have described Phoebe as one of the nicest, kindest dogs ever. She's a lovely dog. This was 1000% not her fault.
No, Phoebe
This was 1000% my brain concocting the story of her
Suffering.
not being in the right home, even though she was perfectly fine. And of course, I'm the one that would beg for this dog for weeks. And I go to my husband and I'm like, I want to give her back. And he's like, I love this dog now. You had to convince me for months to get a dog. And I love her now.
This dog is going nowhere.
And we are not, I'm talking about her in this dog, but I love her so much now. And if anyone's thinking about getting a dog, I want you all to know that it's probably not always rainbows and sunshines when you first get them, whether it's a puppy or not. And I'm sure we'll talk about all of this. But yeah, so long story short, I got a dog from a shelter. I love her very much. I did almost give her back. I am incredibly happy that I did not. And she is the joy of my life outside of my husband. I would say the love of my life, but I probably shouldn't. So the joy of my life, I will call her.
I would say the love of my life, but I probably shouldn't be honest. Well, I mean, pets in med school can be a challenge, I think, probably.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the
I
amount
almost
of time
gave
that
mine
you,
back.
the amount of time that you have to devote to each. Yeah, but you were wrong. But there are challenges. Right? There are challenges.
Yes, there are challenges. There's legitimate challenges outside.
Because the one thing that I often think of is, they'll be fine if you go away for, the day to go to work or school. But sometimes when you do your family medicine rotation, you're not here. And then you have to figure out if you don't have a spouse to back you up or a significant other to back you up, then you have to figure out what to do with this animal while you're away for 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Is it 4 or 6?
4 weeks.
So that's kind of an issue. And I don't know how it is at other schools, but here the family medicine clerkship is not going to say, "Oh,
You got a pet. Yeah. You don't have to go.
You can stay in Iowa City," because then everybody would be doing that.
Or bring your pets along.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could. There must be some.
I'm sure there is some.
I'm sure there are some places. I know.
Or you might have to organize that yourself. But so that's something that I would say is a challenge. Is there's a lot more workarounds, and this is not unique to medical school, but whenever you go out of town, you have to find something to do with your pet, or if you'd have to commute somewhere for your family medicine rotation, there's nothing stopping you from getting a pet-friendly Airbnb for the time that you're there, but that's an expense. So it's there's these unexpected expenses, I think, associated with having pets that you may not think about before you get one. So something unique to medical school is that you might not have a lot of disposable income when you are in medical school. And that's something to really think about, because things like boarding and vet bills and other damages associated with pets can be a financial burden that you have to think seriously about if you can handle, I guess.
What other damages could happen with pets? I ask as a leading question. I wonder what pets could do.
Damages? Oh, Maddie?
Damage? I mean, okay. Here's the thing. I live with an arsonist. His name, he's 55 pounds, 5 years old, a dog named Mac. So last year I was on my internal medicine rotation, and this was right after COVID. It was my first clinical rotation after being home for 2 years straight. And Mac he'd had pretty significant separation anxiety when I first got him. That's Mac. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had pretty much outgrown it. I did my first year of medical school before COVID, and everything was great. We were in a routine. He was fine with me leaving the house. It's all good. And then I was home for a full year. And now I'm going to clinic. And when you're in clinic, you're gone all day. So I was gone for anywhere from 8 to 9 and 9.5 hours. And he's an adult dog. He's fine with that. But his anxiety started to come back, and he started to get into things that he shouldn't. And so he was eating things that are not edible, like hairbrushes and avocado pits. And it was a lot.
Those aren't good for dogs.
No, they're not. We had to go to the emergency vet. I've taken this dog to the emergency vet so many times. Okay. That's what I mean by unexpected expenses. But what happened? So I was getting a vibe from him. I feel like every morning when he was gonna have a bad day, I could always tell, and I would get these vibes from him because he'd be a little bit more restless or whatever. And so that particular day, I left my house key underneath my mat in my apartment because I just thought, if for any reason someone needs to go check on Mac, it will be easy for them to do. And so I leave the house with a vibe, and I'm on the bus on the way to the hospital, and I have a Furbo dog camera, a nanny camera, in my apartment, and it faces the living room, and I get a barking alert. And so I'm like, all right, I expected this. I knew he was going to be naughty today. I check the camera on the bus on the way to the hospital, and I see nothing, which is not what you want to see, but I hear some rustling around and a beeping noise, and I'm like, all right, what is he doing? Nothing. What happened was not even on my mind. The real scenario that was going on was not even a thought in my brain. So I texted my boyfriend and I was like, hey, can you please go check on Mac? I know that he's doing something he's not supposed to be doing. I left a key under my apartment mat, so you can go find it. He's like, yes, whatever. I get to the hospital. I'm walking in up to the workroom where I'm supposed to meet my attending. And I check the camera again. This time I do see something. I see Mac standing on a chair in my living room, looking towards the kitchen. And at the top of the screen is just a line of smoke. And I'm at this point now I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my God, there's a fire. That beeping noise was the fire alarm. And my dog is home alone. Oh my God. So I hang up, I call 911. I'm like, oh, there's a fire in my apartment and my dogs are alone. And they're like, wait, how do you know there's a fire? I was like, I see it on my camera. You just got to go. My dog's alone, blah, blah, blah. So I get off of the phone with the dispatcher. I'm hysterical. I'm running around the 6th floor of the hospital, or the 4th floor, whatever, wherever I was, frantic. And I check the Furbo camera again, and it is pitch black. I cannot see anything. And so now I'm like, oh my God, my dog is dead. Everything is bad. And so my boyfriend picks me up. I run to the side of the building where my apartment is, and I see 2 or 3 firemen outside, and there between them is Mac wagging his tail. He's got a little doggy oxygen mask on. It's so cute.
They have little oxygen masks?
Yeah, they have little oxygen masks for dogs. Ultimately, what happened was So growing up with dogs, we would always store food that we didn't want them to eat in the microwave, and we call it the dog locker. And I carried that with me into my medical school years. And I had put a loaf of banana bread that Wissam had made me. He's a medical student here that Riley knows. Shout out Wissam. So I blame him for this. He had made me a loaf of banana bread. I put it in my microwave. I left. Mac wanted the banana bread really bad. In trying to acquire the bread, he pushed the microwave onto the stove top, and that, like, the burners were in the back of the stove, turned the burners on, lit the microwave on fire, causing over $1,000 of damages. But ultimately, it could have been way worse if I would not have seen it on the Furbo.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did attach a picture that Dave will, I think, show of Mac and the firefighters who saved him.
Oh my God.
There they are. Look at how proud of him. He looks so proud of himself.
Shout out Furbo.
That is not the face of
an arsonist. Let me tell you, Dave, that is the face of an arsonist.
Innocent.
I know. He would have you believe he's innocent, but not so. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting a dog and you're in medical school, just consider the fact that they could start a fire in your home.
It's an ad for apartment insurance.
Yeah, get renter's insurance. And also, don't live anywhere where they don't know you have an animal. Because, like, that was a big thing. I pay pet rent for Mac, so it wasn't like I wasn't in trouble for this occurring because my dog started a fire. You know, I wasn't in the doghouse.
Listeners, if you ask us a question, it means that I don't have to make something up to talk about on the show, and the show becomes what you want it to be. So send your questions to theshortcoats@gmail.com or leave a message at 347-SHORT-CT. We'll talk about it on the show. So I would like to look at Phoebe.
Look at her.
I mean, she's beautiful.
Look at this face. It's the face of a dog.
I don't understand. So I love that, Riley.
Yes.
You are panicking about owning a dog.
Yeah, look at her face.
And Maddie is the one who is talking you down.
What is also crazy
Is this before or after the fire?
This is after.
This is after
well
the
after
fire.
the fire.
This is after emergency vet visits. This is after your own stress of, like, anxiety dog crate and everything.
Maddie has lived through hell.
Yes.
And she's like, it's fine. It'll be fine.
Well, she was like, both it will be fine, but also I am concerned about your mental state. And maybe that is the problem. Like, I cannot stress this enough that, like, it was my own anxiety that shone through in this situation. And this is a terrible analogy.
I just feel like Maddie should have been like, you want something to be anxious about. Maybe your house will be on fire.
Yeah, maybe your house will be on fire. Maybe your dog will eat an avocado pit. There are other things. But no, yeah, it's so funny because after this story, I hear all this and I'm worried. And the whole point of me being worried is leaving Phoebe home alone, that she's anxious and worried, and she's not, for the record. And it's actually only because Maddie went through the fact of having a highly anxious dog that she was able to recognize your dog's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, she's pretty okay. And I have a feeling she's gonna get through these first few weeks and be okay. And so...
One last statement and then we can move on. I remember I had asked Riley, I was like, is she showing any signs of, like, distress in her kennel? And Riley's like, well, like, what should I look for? And so I send a picture of the inside of my dog's crate, which he now uses to avoid any other fires. And it's just completely gnarled. And it's like an aluminum. It's a heavy duty kennel. I'm like, this is what signs of distress looks like. And she's like, no, none of that.
When we first adopted my dog, we got her when she was 1, but we tried to kennel her at the beginning and she broke out of her kennel. I don't know how she managed to do it, but she did. And, like, her nose was always raw from, like, trying to chew it out. So that's what signs of distress look like.
Yeah.
Mac broke teeth escaping from his kennel, chewed a hole in my parents' drywall, and ripped up carpet escaping from a kennel. So he's a bad dog. I love him so much, but he's the rough
during
one.
During the fire, were you worried more about your apartment or your dog?
Oh, I was worried way more about my dog. I was like, the apartment can burn. I mean, I didn't want anybody else to get hurt either, but I was, like, fully worried about Mac.
Yeah.
I've put up a picture of
Lucky dog.
Lucky.
Lucky is beautiful.
Lucky is beautiful.
Thank you.
What is Lucky looking at, do you think?
He just looks out the window, just see whoever walks around. He loves
Bark?
He howls like a wolf.
I was gonna say huskies howl. That's so funny.
He's like half husky, half German Shepherd, but he's definitely more on the husky side. Yeah. He's older too. He's more quiet now. Just his anxiety level gets worse every year.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's my only complaint. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know that.
And you did not
happens
send,
with the dog.
oddly, you did not send a picture of your cat.
I should have one.
Yeah,
I
he
think
did. He
I
posted one. He
Yeah.
posted one.
Oh, watch more reels.
I guess I didn't use it.
Dave.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's just a cat. That's
Derecho is being neglected by Mao and now by Dave.
It's okay. He
It's a-
survived
this
the
is
big
a Derecho
storm. He's a
hate
lucky
podcast.
star.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lucky, yeah, I love him. He's so cute. And I got him when he was almost 6 years old, so he was more like an adult.
Yeah.
You know, didn't have too much anxiety, but now he's just getting old.
Yeah.
But I still love him.
How old is he?
He's 11.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we've given a lot of hate for the dogs. I feel like we've really.
It's affectionate hate, though.
It
yeah,
is.
It is.
And it's realistic.
I think it's realistic because I think a lot of people come into medical school. A lot of people are dog people. No offense to the cat people.
Oh,
Cat
I like
person.
dogs too. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
I was gonna say you grew up with a dog. I feel like a lot of people that I've heard will be like, "Oh, I really want a dog during medical school," or "I want to get a dog during residency." And ultimately, like, and I think we should also talk about the cats, but the problem with dogs is that definitely they need more work. Definitely they're probably more prone to accidents and expenses. And all of that is a problem because your amount of time that you have to spend at medical school changes drastically from year to year. Like you could think that you have plenty of time in the first couple years and then bam, 12 hours in surgery, like once you hit your third year. And so I feel like talking realistically about dogs, we all know we love them. We all know that they're the joy of every person's life, but at the same time, they're a ton of work. And I probably can only say that I can do it because I have a partner that's actually helping me to do it.
I was just thinking that, like, for the majority of the time that I had Mac during his problem years, I didn't have a partner. And now that he's a good dog, I do, and I have a partner. It's so easy. It's so much easier.
Yeah, it's so much easier because,
Also true with children, by the way. If you can handle that, if you can manage that, that's a good thing.
So one reason I like dog more than cats because dog they just sleep during the day and you come back unless they set apartment on fire. Otherwise your apartment should be intact. But cats they jump everywhere, they knock things off. Like a couple of days ago our cat destroyed a vase, just water everywhere, flower everywhere. Yeah, that's with cats. No offense, but I love dogs more.
I love the memes of the cats like that hop up on stuff and look you straight in the eye and then just smack it off.
Yeah.
Do you have experience with that, Matt?
I personally don't. I know a couple of my cats at home have that issue, but I was very since I had them from the time they were kittens, I was very strict about don't get up on counters.
Sure.
Don't get on the table. And more or less they don't. Unless I leave food out and I'm not in the room, they will not be on anything.
Yeah, we have to talk about this particular thing. I've put up your cats on the video, and what are their names?
So we have Marbles and Dewey.
Marbles.
Which is what?
Marbles is the one that's spotted. Dewey is my beautiful flame point Siamese.
How did you get them to sit like that?
Yeah.
My cat will never do that.
No, I just
Super glue.
I just walked. I walked out and they were just sitting there. I have a bunch of pictures of them together. They love each other. I'm guessing that this will be posted somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, they sit in the cat tree together a lot. We have a little hammock, like a window cling, cuddle up there together too. They sleep curled up right next to each other. They're best friends.
That's awesome.
My cats are not best friends. they like each other well enough, I think. But there are times when I'm not sure. Like I did post this, and we can see them in action.
One, fight!
This is your cats?
Yeah. Look at that tail.
Which is which?
Pandora's the one on the bottom. Fishwick's the black cat on the top. Fishwick has a Manx tail, which is a shortened tail, I guess, that she was born with. And yeah, I guess when she's happy, it helicopters around. So I think they're having fun here, but I'm never entirely sure. As somebody who did not grow up with cats, I have a lot of trouble reading
The body language.
the language of cats.
I think animals just in general, even dogs. Like dogs, you see them playing and they're just like teeth on each other, and I'm just like,
Is that a good play?
Is that a good
Is that a bad play?
I know. It's always like you just like watch pet owners like seeing their dogs play, and everyone's just vibing. Everyone's like, we good, we bad. Like, are we angry at each other? And then the dog goes back, and I'm like, all right, she's fine.
I mean, they don't really hiss at each other, so
Yeah, I feel like they're fine.
they're probably fine,
I know nothing. I'm not a vet.
right? I don't know. So, I mean, pets have benefits to us. I mean, they make us happy.
They do that.
Yeah.
What benefits are there to pet ownership, Riley?
I feel like there is no one that is more excited to see me than my dog. Every single day, I could be gone for 5 minutes. I could have literally just gone to the garage. I'd come up and she would throw a party as if I had been gone for a full year. Like, the joy that I feel every single day coming home, and she's just standing at the top of the stairs, wagging her little butt, and she's so excited. Like, no offense to Thomas, he's never that excited to see me when I come home. Like, she is so excited. And every single morning I get up, she's also excited to see me. I'm like, you just slept at the foot of my bed. Like, you knew I was there the whole time, always. And I think just having a little like dog that has so much unconditional love for me, I could have just the most terrible day, and I would come home and I'd go, ooh, Phoebe, and then I would just cuddle her and like have a great time. Sorry for anyone that has to edit that. I'm sure that was just like super loud.
Ear splitting.
But that's what I do. I go, ooh, and then I go, you're so cute, and then we just cuddle for like 15 minutes when I get home.
So
would
it's
never
no
do
wonder
that before.
it's no wonder that pets are supposed to anyway help us with depression and lower blood pressure
Allegedly.
in stressful situations.
I guess it depends on the pet.
Playing with
I talked extensively how my dog caused my anxiety, but
it sounds
the other way.
It sounds clear that, like serotonin and dopamine get a little hit with pets usually.
For sure.
I don't know about this one. Pet owners have lower triglyceride and cholesterol levels, according to some people.
I said allegedly.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's some, what are the confounding factors there? Like, are you walking your dog all the time or walking your cat? I have seen cats out on harnesses. Do you walk your cats?
No, they don't have leashes.
Okay.
Would they like to be walked?
Because that is an
No.
interesting.
Okay.
I want to know the confounders there.
The one time I tried to put Fishwick on a leash, she did that cat thing where she levitated and then like made a lot of noise and did this everywhere. So I don't know, maybe I could train her, but
Have you guys seen those like cat backpacks? Yeah.
I love those. I like seeing them. They
do
make
too.
my life. I feel like there's so many other like great benefits to owning pets. Like, again, like the walk thing. I would not normally come home from work and just like have to go on a walk.
Yep.
But I do now because I've got a little dog who's going to bother the crap out of me if I don't take her on a walk. And so, yeah, I probably get, if you're a step counter, you're going to get way more steps if you have a dog.
I'll tell you the benefit of pet ownership for me that was immediately obvious, especially because we got Fishwick first, and it was right before the pandemic, right before everything shut down here in the US. And the benefit was we had so much to talk about because of Fishwick as a family. It was such a distraction from the shit that was going on in the world and all that kind of stuff. And I could see that generalizing to, distracting you from your whatever crap is going on in your life that, inevitably happens.
Yeah.
That's my big benefit.
I think I totally agree with that. As traumatic as it was in the moment, I love telling my arson story because like
it's a great story.
A great story.
It's a great story.
Who would have thought that would happen? So I do love to talk about my dog. I love to show pictures of my dog. And I think I am a very anxious person. And I have kind of transferred my anxiety onto my dog, which I think is a more healthy way to deal with it.
So you attribute your anxiety to your dog?
No,
or
I feel like he makes my anxiety better because I have more of like a focus for my anxiety.
I thought you were
Whereas,
going to say he's a sponge, like he takes your anxiety and beat himself. No, yeah, I know what you're saying
Or when
now.
you're feeling anxious, you think your dog is anxious.
No, it's not that. It's more like I don't have time to be anxious about other things because I'm taking care of him.
Yeah.
And, I think maybe that has caused me to go to the emergency vet for things that were not an emergency. But like, I feel like that's a healthier way to deal with my
You
anxiety.
can always make more money.
Yeah, I can always make more money. I don't know. I feel like my general anxiety about the world has gone down, and I just have something to, it feels good to have something to take care of, and like to go home and they rely on you, and like you're doing a good thing because you are, you know, you have a responsibility that's not yourself. And so to push off some of my own anxieties and like things that I can't control, I can control how I care for my pet. I don't know. I feel like that's a benefit for me.
Sorry, go ahead.
I want to go back to the point of like lowering your cholesterol. Like as a dog person, I always save like the last couple bites I could have eaten, but I just save it for a dog.
Maybe that's what it is.
I just eat less, I guess.
Maybe that's what it is. There's the confounding variable.
Yeah, exactly. We need the confounders in this data.
But if I save it for my cat, he never eats it.
Unless it's tuna.
Yeah.
If it's tuna.
Right, Riley, you pointed out that to combat the trouble that comes with taking care of a pet, during medical school, students at the University of Indiana School of Medicine developed a website called Pets in Medicine, designed exclusively for medical students to use for occasions such as away rotations, busy days in clinics, and personal events. That's cool.
That's
I liked
super
it.
cool.
That's super cool. We could do that. Any school could do that.
That's what I was thinking. I feel like there's so many people that are like, I want a dog. I don't really want the full-time ownership. Like, I can imagine if I was in the first year and there was somebody who just needed someone to like check in on their dog in the middle of the day. And maybe it's a free website, but like, yeah, I'd do that. Like, I thought it was really a neat idea. I actually didn't find if they like have continued it, but I like the thought.
I've had several of my med school classmates watch Mac for me when I'm like out of town or something. And it's kind of the same thing. They didn't have pets, but it's like, and you know, maybe I don't necessarily want a pet, but I like to hang out with pets. And so I've used that before, just like our group chat, and had people who are willing to watch my dog for me that way.
I love the idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. I wish we had it.
Can we make a determination? We've only talked about cats and dogs. First of all, I just want to point that out. There's, of course, many other options like rabbits and lizards.
Do you want me to talk about my hamster that died tragically when I was in 3rd grade?
No. It sounds very sad.
Well, I feel like hamsters always die in the most dramatic ways.
Oh, for
because
sure.
they're just mischievous little things.
What? How did your hamster die? Did your hamster die in a dramatic way?
Well, for him, ultimately, I don't think it was, but it is tragic. He escaped his cage, and we were moving at the time, and we just never found him.
Oh.
But our laundry room was unfinished, and so my dad went home, or like went back to the house after we had already moved all of our things out, and there was like dead animal smell.
No.
And poor Murphy got into the walls and died in there. It's very
Reasons
sad.
to not get a hamster in medical school.
Yeah, it's a sad time. I still feel guilty about it, but
Well, that was a downer.
no, the moral of the story
Hamsters
is
only live like, a few years, right? So I guess it would be better if they didn't die in a wall.
I think Pooja has a hamster that she loves and who's been very great for her. So.
Casey McCleary, who used to host the show, she had a bearded dragon.
Yeah.
Which I would love to have a bearded dragon.
My roommate in college had a lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Taylor. She loved that lizard. She would like have it on her shoulder. It was awesome.
Our friend Gage has a lot of bugs.
Oh,
What?
This is true.
He's got like a lot of butterflies.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's better than like.
He's a bug guy.
He's a bug guy.
I know people
There's a
love
word for that,
people have spiders.
I don't
know
think he
about
has spiders.
any medical students
I think he's
that I
more
know
like
of, but I
a
know that
caterpillar butterfly kind of guy.
Yeah.
spiders, snakes, creepy crawlies that usually people that are less popular, but it's possible.
Dr. Sipla has birds.
Oh yeah,
Ah, yeah.
famously among us anyway. Yeah, he has parrots.
Yeah, like 9 of them.
Yeah, he's a parrot rescue guy, right?
Yep.
He loves to integrate them into his understanding of neurology.
Yes, he does.
So there's stuff to be learned. But getting back to the cats versus dogs thing, the most common pets, probably, right?
I would say likely. Yes.
Probably.
Which is better for med school?
Cats.
Cats.
Probably.
Cats.
Yeah, cats.
Okay.
Also, I
Mal's like, I don't know about that.
No, I disagree.
just want to say that I have not said a bad thing about my cats yet.
Yo, we
these
all talked a
stories.
lot of crap about dogs, but
No, Mao didn't. He says
Mao-
Lucky's
Mao-
perfect.
Except he has
Lucky
anxiety.
has
Oh, yeah, he has anxiety.
levels,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think you can prove anything because I have 2 cats that both have their downsides.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Well, Mine are perfect. Sometimes they're goobers. Like the first year that I had marbles, he snuck on the counter to have some of my dinner. Except it was, oh shoot, what was it? What's the thing that they ate at the end of the event, the first Avengers movie? Shawarma. All right, I was making shawarma, and he snuck onto the counter and ate some of it, except his cheek rubbed against the side of the pot, and he had an orange stain on his face for like weeks.
Sweet.
Which was so funny.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit that cats do.
Yeah.
If that's the worst thing their cats are up to, yeah, cats for sure are better for medical school.
Definitely.
Let's do this. It's always fun to find out what humans call groups of animals. So let's see if you can figure out what humans call these crowds of animals. The person who gets the most right will be scratched on the lower leg in their sleep by Pandora. Okay.
I hope it's you, Dave. I really hope it's you.
A group of cats that don't know each other is called a what? A, glaring, B, colony, or C, basque.
C.
Basque?
A basque.
I'm going to go with A.
I think it's A.
A.
Yeah, it's A. A glaring.
Okay. Well.
Colonies are bats, also known as a cloud or camp, and basque is crocodiles. So,
you know, crocodiles, cats, they're easily
easily confused.
Basically the same.
It's fair.
A group of jellyfish is called a shrewdness, or a basque, or a smack. Which one?
Well, it's not a basque. That's crocodiles.
It's called test taking.
Did I do that? Oops. Screwed up my own.
Can you give us A and C again?
A and C, shrewdness or smack?
Smack.
I'm going to go with smack.
I'm going to go with shrewdness.
I'm going to go with smack.
It is a smack.
Oh.
Lemurs are a shrewdness.
Speaking of lemurs, did anybody watch Zaboomafoo growing up?
No, but I had a lot of friends that did, so I know of it intricately.
That's all I wanted to say. It was a great show, and no one remembers it. And I
remember it.
Okay, good. Because sometimes I feel like I'm the only person who ever watched it, and I think that everybody should have watched it because it was good.
Kind of messes with your reality when nobody else remembers that show that you watched.
Yeah, it does.
And you're like, was it real?
Yeah.
Did I?
It's like the Berenstein Bear hypothesis or whatever. What is that? The Mandela effect?
That was the Mandela effect.
Mandela effect.
Did I make up this show? A bunch of owls.
It's a peck.
A bunch of owls is called a gang, a parliament, or a convocation.
Oh, never mind.
I want it to be a gang, so I'm going to choose gang.
Okay.
Parliament. They seem very wise.
Do we believe that a parliament is necessarily wise?
I don't think we have to believe that.
Okay.
There's an association, yeah.
I go with congregation.
Can you repeat
convocation?
Convocation.
Convocation.
Can you repeat the answers?
Gang, parliament, convocation.
I'm gonna go with convocation.
Yeah, it's a parliament.
Yes.
Oh,
told you guys.
Gang is buffaloes, turkeys, weasels, and elk. For some reason, all of those are
cool
gangs. And a convocation is eagles. Which of the following describes a pack of gorillas? Chest, clouder, or band?
Band.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's band.
I'm gonna go clouder.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other choice?
Chest.
Sure, I'll go with chest. Then.
Yeah, it's band.
Oh.
I made up chest. And clouder, that's a group of cats.
Oh.
Another term for a
But the
group
first group of cats was cats who don't like each other.
Glaring.
Cats who don't know each other.
Cats who don't know each other. is
Know
glaring.
each other.
Wildcats, by the way, are also known as a destruction. I think we know where we're going with the cat's name. You know, they're going to shit up. That's what cats do. Shortcoats, if you're enjoying our conversation today, I'd be grateful if you'd let people know by posting a story on Instagram or Facebook or tweeting about us. And don't forget to tag us in your post.
Thank you.
You guys may know that last week was orientation week. And I was able to pick out some new CCOM students to ask them some get-to-know-you questions about their journeys to this point. I promised not to call them out by name as they already looked a bit frightened of me. So let's see if their responses resonate with you, more seasoned medical students. This first one, for reasons I only asked this question of one person, probably because I forgot to ask it again. So the question is, who would you like to thank for your helping you get this far?
Yeah, I mean, the first most instrumental people would be like my parents, who both of them work in healthcare, and especially during the pandemic, I saw how much like the brunt that they had to face, and so they, directly and indirectly, just watching them, seeing how they dealt with it, seeing how much they, put themselves out there and cared for other people, was what motivated me to like get up and like, be in this kind of position of power and responsibility,
Didn't it scare you off?
No, honestly, no, it motivated me more because like they've been some of the strongest people I've seen my entire life. So I was like, I'm their child and they've raised me right. They've taught me, I'm hoping I have their best qualities. I'm just trying to emulate them. But yeah, also the doctor that mentored me as a scribe, the one I scribed for, the kindness he extended to every single person as an orthopedic surgeon was immeasurable. So I really am trying to become a doctor like him.
I thought that was nice.
That was so sweet.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
I think the mentorship aspect is interesting too. I don't know that a lot of people can count on that mentorship aspect. I mean, you might do shadowing, but
I wouldn't say it was like the most profound.
I was going to say, I don't think that I had that same experience.
Yeah.
Not in like I had bad mentors, more that I just didn't have many mentors who were really in medicine. But no, I think that resonates with me. You said, who would you like to thank for getting me here?
Yeah.
I feel like I owe a lot to my parents.
As we've discussed on the podcast previously, my dad is a radiologist. My mom worked in healthcare for a long time as well as a speech pathologist. So they have a very strong medical background. But going into it, and just as I continue to go into medicine, being able to look up to my dad is something that's really cool. Both just seeing how he works with medicine is really amazing. I think that his like work ethic, his ability to like communicate with different professionals. Obviously, as a radiologist, you don't talk to patients that much, but he really loves collaborating with different doctors and everything, which is a really like healthy team-based approach. He's always willing to accept feedback. If he gets something wrong, like he wants to know about it so he can fix it for the next time. And it was really cool. I got to do a program over the summer where I went and was basically a med student in one of the hospitals. And I went back home for that. I didn't work at the hospital my dad did, but there's a lot of crossover between the two in the town. And so I got to hear from a lot of people that knew him, just like how he worked and how he was to interact with and how he carried himself, both from doctors and also like techs, nurses, other people that he worked with. And just like the resounding aspect of, he was somebody that people wanted to work with, which meant a lot to me because now I'm obviously not a doctor yet, but I'm on his side. I'm on the medical side and not just like his kid. I'm, trying to be somebody like him. And so it's really cool to have that kind of person in your life.
Giving you something to aspire to.
Yeah, somebody that you can look up to. And even though right now I don't necessarily want to be a radiologist, just knowing how he carries himself, how he treats patients, how he treats medicine as a whole, I think is really powerful and is something that, especially after this summer, I've been able to think about a lot and just like, what is my impact going to be? What is my role going to be? How am I going to treat patients? How am I going to treat staff? How am I going to be the person that I want to be? And so it's cool to have somebody that close to look up to. So I'm glad that the M1 that you interviewed also has those kind of people in his life that they can look up to and kind of be like, I want to do this. It's really easy to get lost in med school. It's really easy to be like, I don't really care about the things we're learning. You have to hang on to your why. Right. And from my experience also, like seeing the why at the end of the road and hearing him talk about how his family, like how he saw them have to go through that and how he saw the resiliency. I think that's gonna treat them really well in the long run.
Yeah. My next question was kiss, marry, kill. Personal statement, secondary applications, interviews. I got a bunch of responses from this one.
Oh gosh. Okay. I would definitely kill secondary application. I would probably kiss personal statement and I would marry the interview. Yeah.
I'm going to say kill the personal statement, kiss the secondary, and I guess marry the interview. The personal statement, just like it's never taken me so long to write any document in my life or caused me so much stress. The secondaries can be rough, I feel like, depending on how many you're writing. And then the interview, that was very, very, very stressful. I don't know if I would really want to marry.
But you married her.
Yeah.
You can't take it back. The marriage is for forever.
It was kind of the last one standing, but But it was the shortest in terms of actual how long it took.
Kill secondary application. That's not even a question. Those were brutal. Yeah, because you've taken the MCAT, you've done your primary, you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden you get like 10 essays from each school that are different. So yeah, okay, secondary's done. I actually really liked my interviews, so maybe marry my interviews. I feel like you get to talk to a lot of cool people that helps you decide where you want to go. And then that leaves KISS for my personal statement. So it was okay. You know, you get to talk about why you want to be a physician. You can do that.
Anything there that strikes you?
Kill the secondaries. I totally agree with that.
They must have some utility for schools. But
have to. I mean,
they certainly spend a lot of time on them.
Yeah. I agree with the married the interview. I think in my mind, I just want to be face to face with someone. You can only say so much over words, especially when you have like a word count, and just trying to like parse your entire life down into just words. I think it's it's easier to convince myself that the human interaction of an interview is going to like do me better than trying to write my whole life down in the best way possible, unless you're Kate, who can write like the perfect personal interview. I don't even know if she's in there, but
she's not.
She's not. Well, I mean, if Kate could write my personal statement, then I'd marry the personal statement, but she can't do that. So I'm going to marry the interview.
So here at the Short Coat Podcast, we're all about vibes, and you can't really get vibes from written things, in my opinion.
Big agree.
So I'd say like the interview, obviously really stressful. I had to do my interview on Zoom, which was even more stressful because you couldn't get like that face-to-face interaction.
But you didn't have to wear pants.
I did.
Fool.
But
you're starting a rumor that Matt didn't wear pants on his interviews.
You better not tell anyone.
Yeah.
I liked what the last person said about the personal statement. Another thing that I feel relatively passionately about is like I went straight through, and I feel like I didn't get a chance to really ask myself why I wanted to be a doctor until after I'd applied and everything. It was like, okay, so I want to be a doctor. Let's figure out how to answer that. But it was always like, how do I want to answer that and not like, hey, Matt, why do you want to be a doctor? Why don't you want to be like a professor? Or why don't you want to go into like literally anything else? Yeah. And I feel like if you approach the personal statement correctly, it can tell you a lot about yourself. Like I know one thing, I really focused on being a tutor in undergrad, and I talked about that a lot, and like how I was able to reach people where they were, and like they don't always come in worried about the homework that they're going through or anything. It's like the thing that I've heard in medical school is like you're treating the patient, you're not treating the disease. And that was my first chance to see that. It's like, yeah, they're coming in with like homework issues, but they're also stressed about X, Y, and Z. So you have to calm them down or else they're not going to learn anything. So I found like I learned a lot by writing the personal statement. And if I would have gone back, I would have done more self-reflecting during that time rather than like panicking after submitting everything. But I think that was the first chance I got in undergrad to be like, all right, so I spent all this time checking the boxes and doing all the things I needed to do to get in, and I have good grades, and I'm studying for the MCAT. Then like, okay, so why do I want to be a doctor other than because I've always wanted to be a doctor? So that was the first chance that I really got to critically think about it in a very structured way.
I think it's an interesting point that you make, that you can learn from the personal statement rather than, I mean, everybody thinks of the personal statement as something that the schools learn from about you, but you sort of did it the other way around, which I think is probably an ideal thing. You know, you should learn from everything you do. And
I mean, it's one thing that like the best advice that I got about my personal statement was from my mom, because I could not figure out what to write about. And she was just like, well, write about something that you like and that like will show who you are. And I wrote my personal statement about being a Hufflepuff and why that would make me a good doctor. Like, and once I just started not worrying about the formulaic personal statement, it flowed, and I was able to create something that I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
That's a really good point.
I like
that's a really good point. And some people, you know, they really believe in the, I don't know, what I would call the boring personal statement. You know,
yeah, some people do. I mean,
I want to be a doctor because I want to help people. You know that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm good at science and blah 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 blah. And I can't buy that. I mean, it might work.
Yeah, I don't know if I would recommend.
It might not hurt.
Yeah.
You know, but it also may not push you over the finish line if there are other people who did it differently. I don't know.
One thing we've talked about on the podcast, I know, and I've also brought up to a lot of like the pre-meds that I know, is when they ask you like, why do you want to be a doctor? And they make you do the personal statement and like the secondaries. Then in the interview, when they ask you all those questions, yeah, you're trying to show them why you deserve to be there or whatever. But it kind of goes back to what we said earlier of like, you need to know your why. You can't lose your why. And I've always tried to say it to the pre-meds of, yeah, you're trying to convince the admissions committee that you deserve to be there. But more importantly, you have to convince yourself that you're deserving to be there. You have to convince yourself every single day that you're making the right decision. You have to convince yourself that this is what you're meant to do.
Yeah, it's a terrific way that you deserve.
It's hard.
I love that you put it that way. You deserve to be there.
And especially with the amount of people that have I mean, I have imposter syndrome. Like, I struggle to find people that don't, especially once you get to the levels of perfectionism that a lot of people that apply to med school have. You need to convince yourself that you deserve to be here. You're not writing at least in my opinion, you're not answering interview questions and you're not writing personal statements and secondaries to convince anybody else that you're supposed to be there. You're writing them to convince yourself that you need to be there. And if they are convinced by you being able to tell yourself that you're doing it, then that's where you want to be.
Because spoiler, you have to keep doing it even when you're here, hence the imposter syndrome. So I feel like they need to see that you have some confidence in your why, because ultimately admissions committees know that like everyone's like, oh, the hard part is applying to medical school. No, it's not. The hard part is doing it. Like, for the record, it's not easy. Like, you gotta do it.
The hard part is learning like 15 drugs in one lecture and being like, I don't know how to memorize this.
The hard part is going into a test on Friday knowing you've already had 10 lectures for the next test you have in 2 weeks. That's the hard part.
Is running around the hospital knowing that your apartment's on fire and your dog's home alone.
And knowing that you gotta go to rounds and like say the patient's HPI. Like, that's the hard part. And they need to know that like you truly and honestly to yourself want to be there. So that's kind of what you're getting at, which is not only just for the time being of the personal statement, but like you got to do it also when you're still
the
here.
why makes all of those things that we said are hard. It makes them all easy. Maybe not the fire thing, but everything else. Like, all right, so I need to know all these drugs. Why do I need to know these drugs? Because my patients are going to be on them. Like over the summer, I got like people would just hand me drug lists. And I'm like, I don't know what half of these are, but I'd eventually start picking them out and be like, oh, I know what that one is, and I know why they're on it. And those kind of things are when you're having to say the entire patient's HPI. Like, if you know why you're doing it, it makes it so much easier. It's not just like, oh, this is some stupid thing that we have to do because we're med students. It's like, yeah, it is a stupid thing we have to do because we're med students, but also there's a payoff, and that payoff is your why.
Wait, so are you kissing it or are you marrying it?
I'm still going to go kissing because I think that the interview is...
vibes.
The interview is the vibes.
Yeah.
And you can still do all of those things during the interview because they ask you the questions, but I think the personal statement is really like your first...
You're flirting.
Yeah, the personal statement is your long-term relationship before you marry your interview.
Love it.
Would you rather be the smartest person in the universe and lazy, or have a vast work ethic and low intelligence?
Sure. I think vast work ethic and low intelligence, especially like I think that's how I am right now. Not low intelligence, but I'm a hard worker. I don't think I'm like naturally very smart. But, like I do put in the work and make sure I'm doing the right things, and so that option for sure.
Vast work ethic and low intelligence. I would just feel bad if I was lazy about it.
Ooh, probably smart and lazy. Maybe. Because I feel like working really hard but not being able to accomplish would be really challenging. Well, I guess you don't have to be smart to accomplish.
Honestly, I've always prided myself on working really hard, so I lean towards that one. Because maybe then I can build my abilities and become that smart person who then has that work ethic to drive them even further. Rule the world. No, but yeah, I think that's my answer.
Probably the vast work ethic. I don't like being lazy. What do I do with all my free time? I'm so lazy. Yeah.
Netflix.
I'd like to... I like to be busy, so having a work ethic I think would help with that.
Probably have a vast work ethic and low intelligence, definitely. I feel like I would much rather be really working hard at something, even if I didn't know how to do it, rather than know how to do things and be lazy. That'd be a waste of time, I feel like. If you do nothing with it, what's the purpose?
I don't know. I'd rather be
smart and lazy.
Smart and lazy.
I don't know.
'Cause if you can be smart and lazy, I feel like
You know
you just
what?
be
I
like, I had this great idea. It's so good. It's so brilliant that somebody else can do it.
Can we get a follow-up? I would like you to ask the same question to fourth years, because I think most of the fourth years you're going to ask are going to say, I want to be smart and lazy. Because I think at the beginning, you're just like gung-ho. You're like, I'm ready to work hard. You are feeling it. But I think ultimately, and maybe this is like a little bit of burnout speaking, like I would love to just go sit in Italy and have a glass of wine and know that all my work is done because I'm lazy, but I'm smart, so I got it done. That's what I want. I want to be lazy, but in the sense where it's like I'm lazy, but I'm traveling and like doing my life. And I think that's probably a slight bit of burnout speaking.
I think we romanticize work way too much. And
Big
that
agree.
is why everybody's like, I want to work hard. You should work hard. I'm not saying that work ethic is not a virtue. It is. But I'm sick of romanticizing the hustle.
Fair.
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dave's point. Like you being smart and give the idea to somebody else to do it. That makes the world much better.
Yeah. Tell your lawyer, have your lawyer patent it. Hire somebody else to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's sitting pretty.
I get where you guys are going to. I guess it.
I mean, I did ask a very polarizing.
You asked a polarizing question.
And for the record, I like ultimately, if I really could choose, I'm probably choosing the work ethic.
I think obviously burnout is a huge issue for everyone, and especially in medicine. But the reason that I go with work ethic is I think that at the end of the day, I feel like if I was smart and lazy, I would feel constantly like I didn't accomplish anything. And so I think that if I had that high work ethic and every day I could go home and be proud of what I did, that'd be a good feeling.
I do think that there may be this subtext to a strong work ethic that says people who have strong work ethics don't get burnt out because of the self-blame aspect of burnout. Like if I had a strong work ethic, I wouldn't be burnt out.
I disagree.
You disagree that?
I agree that it's like probably the thought that you have going into like working hard.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm not saying that it's true or accurate or anything like that. I just worry that there's this idea that people have that, you know, I have a strong work ethic, therefore I'm not going to get burnt out.
The issue that I've found is like, I mean, we've talked about it already. You have to jump through so many hoops to get to places where you can be the person that, you know, sips wine in Italy and gives your ideas to other people. But unless you jump through those hoops, you can't. Like, I know a lot of smart people, like really personally, that like didn't do their homework and didn't get good grades or didn't turn things in on time, didn't study enough for the tests. And so they didn't get to the point where you could do all those things that smart and lazy people get to do after putting in the work.
That's probably an important point.
I think the fact of the matter is, I think you asked this question to a lot of people who are smart and hardworking people with strong work ethics. And you're right. I mean, it's a polarizing question and that's what makes it fun.
Well, we're looking at the idealized version of both of them. Like here I am talking about sipping wine in Italy, but you're right. Oftentimes what happens is this smart and lazy person doesn't do the work that they need to succeed. And on the flip side, the hardworking person that may not have the same intelligence may be running themselves in the ground and not getting the credit that they really need and deserve. So like that's the realistic form, but we're talking more so like we're reducing it to a very simple debate that I'm just taking aside hard. I don't actually feel that way.
Also, I think it's important to point out the end point is both person, they got the same things down. Do you want to do the hard way or the easy way?
Yeah.
I think if you ask that way, people will lean towards the being smart and lazy, but they get the same things down.
I like to think of myself professionally as a person who puts a lot of effort into being lazy. Like I do want to come up with the easiest way to do something that's smart because I just feel like that's more efficient. Like
that's why you got all of us producing for you and editing for you now.
What a burn!
She figured it out.
That's great.
On that note, that's our show. Riley, Maddie, Mal, Matt, thanks for being on the show with me today.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And what kind of Toxoplasma gondii infection would I be if I didn't thank you, Shortcoats, for making us a part of your week? If you're new and you like what you heard today, follow the show wherever fine podcasts are available, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Thank you, Riley B. and Bush, for producing this episode with me.
You're welcome.
And thank you to this week's editors, Alec Hansen and Katie Hyam-Kessler. The show is made possible by a generous donation by Carver College Medicine Student Government and ongoing support from the Writing and Humanities program. Our music is by Dr. Fox and Catmosphere. I'm Dave Etler saying, don't let the bastards get you down. Talk to you in 1 week. Hi, Shortcoats. Look, life in medical education, life in America, life in the world is often difficult. And I often wish I could help. All I have is this podcast, but in my wildest dreams, you have the support you need to lead a life of your choosing. You deserve to be happy, healthy, and successful in whatever ways you define those words. So if you need support because you've experienced racism, discrimination, harassment, mental health crises, I want you to be able to get the help that you need. And so I'm going to put some links in the show notes to some resources that you can use. But the bottom line is that for what it's worth, I see you. I know you're out there. I wish I could do more. Maybe I can in ways that I don't understand yet or know about. But I see you, and I'm glad you're here, and other people are too. The Short Code Podcast is a proud member of the MedEd Media Network. Inspiration, information, and guidance on your journey to medical school and beyond at mededmedia.com.